brief review of what we did last time. Mostly it was a quiz as well as the TensorFlow. And we looked at the training versus the test loss issues and the issue of overfitting. I hope everybody understands what overfitting is. We haven't really talked about how to avoid that, but that will be a subject of a future lecture. And we also understood how in a deep neural network setting, different layers are looking at focusing on different features. Okay, so I gave you an example over here. So if you look at, this is the first hidden layer. This is layer 1, and this is layer 2, and this is layer 3, right? This is going deep inside the neural network. The first layer is focusing on generally on simple features. Okay, so you can see that maybe the features over here are a little simple. The second layer is focusing on a combination of features at layer 1. So now you can see that the features are becoming a little bit more complex. You can see that now it's sort of a semicircle. All right, this will become clearer as you go forward. And then layer 3, it's forming more complex features. It's a combination of not only layer 1 features, but also layer 2 features. Okay, G. Yes, so this is all completely random. There's no human involvement. It's simply based on the backpropagation algorithm, the gradient descent algorithm, and changing the weights using the gradient descent algorithm and using backpropagation. That's all that's happening. And it's using different learning rates.
We have a single perceptrons output that is basically binary. So it is either close to 1 or between 1 and 0, right?
So if we go back to a single neuron, देखिए single neuron में क्या हो रहा है? You have an activation function at the end, right? Now the activation function is the output of the activation function a single number? I mean, is it a Boolean number 0 or 1? It's not. It's a real number, right? So it's sort of giving you, in a sense, probabilities. Okay, it's giving you a number between 0 and 1, or maybe even -1 and 1, or what have you, depending on the activation function, but it's giving you some real number. It's not giving you a Boolean number. Okay, and if it's between, let's say, 0 and 1, and if it's 0.9, then basically what it's saying is that the chances that option 1, the category 1 is there is 90%. And because it's a number between 0 and 1, the probability that the other category is likely is 1 minus that, so 10%. Okay, so you understand how that particular the activation function is working.
Yes, and sir, how do we know which activation function to use? There are so many.
Yes, so that depends. So again, as I said to some of you, that neural networks is somewhat of an art. It's still somewhat of an art. It's not a real science, as some of you might say. There's a lot of magic to it. There's a lot of experience to it. There's a lot of art to it. Okay, so and that happens a lot of times when you have a new science evolving. Okay, so that might have happened with physics at an early stage as well, where people thought that it was half magic, half science, half art, and so on, right? But slowly over the years, hopefully this is going to become maybe a real science, okay, where people can say, okay, we can choose this architecture and we'll definitely have this performance. But right now, the number of layers, the number of, the depth of each layer, which particular activation to use, which learning rate to use, a lot of it is based on experience, okay? So as I said, if you look at the activation functions, ReLU has become, at one point it was, ReLU wasn't so popular, okay? But at some point people realized that ReLU is very good and is giving good results. And then over the years, it changes as well. And then there are other techniques as well, which are better. In fact, before ReLU, sigmoid was the chosen option, okay? But then sigmoid was, it was kind of slow, okay? Because it requires differentiating and so on. And if you're looking at ReLU, it's simply a linear function, okay? So it's simpler. So, So this is, I will hopefully expose you to TensorFlow itself. All right, I'll give you homework assignment on that, and where you'll try to do simple, categorization problems. Okay, so you'll get a chance to experience it as well. So the next topic within the topic of artificial neural networks is convolutional neural networks. All right, and we'll be spending hopefully most of this lecture, if not a little bit of next lecture on this. So the important term over here, the addition over here is the word convolution. Okay, now how many of you have been exposed to this term convolution before? Some of you, not too many. Okay, if you had been electrical engineers, I think almost all of you would have been exposed to convolution, because this comes from an engineering, it's an engineering term. But here in computer science, it's a soft version of the real hardcore convolution. So hopefully it's easier for us to understand. So now think about, again, the deep neural network. And these are the layers going from the first layer, the second layer, third layer, and so on. So if it's an n layer deep neural network, this will be the nth layer. Okay, and it's going forward like this. This is the input layer, and this is the output, and the output could be categorizing, giving values for the choice of one of different categories if you're trying to classify things. Okay, so for example, if you're trying to classify one of three things, it could give you three different outputs, and each one of them would generally be the probability of that particular category. Okay, so it could be, for example, 0.7, 0.2, and 0.1. So this would say there's a 70% chance that it is the input is of category 1, 20% of category 2, and 10% of category 3. Okay. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to flip this neural network for a few minutes. And now I'm going to, this is layer 1. Okay, this is H1. And this layer 2 and layer 3. We're going to go upwards like this, simply because this is a famous paper that I'm showing you results from. Now, if you look at this, we've already spoken that layer 1 is choosing simple features. Okay, so if, for example, if you're giving it input images of human faces, then layer 1 would probably, and this is actual data, so layer 1 looks like a series of edges. Okay, you can see that there's straight lines. It could be the edge of your forehead, could be the edge of the ear and nose, whatever you, okay? But these are different edges, and it's very simple. Layer 2, as you can see, what is layer 2 doing now? You can see that there are different, perhaps, parts of the face. So there's a nose over here, there's an eye here, there's ear brows over here, and so on. So as you can see, layer 2 has actually combined layer 1 into forming smaller parts of the face, okay? Sub-organs of the face, you might say. And then layer 3, what is layer 3? So layer 3 is now the complete faces. So you can actually see a person's actual face over here. Now, each one of these boxes that I'm showing over here is actually what that particular neuron is trying to focus on. Okay, so if you saw earlier, we showed you over here that this neuron was selecting everything inside the circle, and it was differentiating between everything outside that circle and everything inside the circle, right? So this was the feature that it was working on. Similarly, over here, what's happening is that this particular layer is focusing on this feature, and it might be differentiating between everything that's on this side of the image and everything on the lower right side of the image, okay? Now this, if you look at this neuron, what is it doing? It is actually selecting an entire face. So if the input image had this particular person in it, this would give an output which was a strong output, okay? Let's say a 1 or 0.9. And if it was anything else besides that particular image, it would give a very low output. So it's basically what it's doing, it's selecting a feature, and in this case, the feature is the entire face, okay? This here, if you look at this particular neuron, it would be looking at the right eye or the left eye? It's the right eye. Okay, so just looking at the right eye. If it finds a right eye anywhere in the image, then it's going to give a strong output, which means let's say a high value. If it doesn't find a right eye, finds anything else, even the left eye, it will give a relatively low value, and it will be a probabilistic value. It will be some value between 0 and 1 generally. Okay, so this is how features are getting extracted in a neural network, in a deep neural network. And this is how it's actually be able to decide whether that particular image is of yourself or if it's not. We have these image recognition systems everywhere. Not every image recognition system is using a deep neural network because it is complex and it can be used in advanced cases. But for example, I don't know what IBA is using. If you notice that when you're exiting IBA or entering IBA, the employees of IBA are actually going through a facial recognition system. Okay, now that may not be based on deep neural networks. There would be other techniques. Okay, so there are a lot of traditional techniques which we haven't talked about yet. Those techniques can be used. Okay, but they are generally, they don't perform as well. They may be very good in. So yeah, I can't recollect. Okay, but I'll come back. I'll get back to you and I'll tell you what are the typical other techniques which are used especially for image recognition. Okay, remind me on that. So let's take a look at this general problem. Okay, and the question now is that if you look at what we've been doing so far, and what we'd like to do, especially with images, is that if you look at the past, what we've been trying to do is we've been looking at, for example, the cats and dogs problem. Okay, so this was the cats and dogs problem, and we presented the data. What exactly did we present? Did we present an image over here, or did we present something else? We presented the direct attribute. So we said, okay, here is the weights, and here's the friendliness. And now we want to differentiate between cats and dogs based on these two specific attributes, and these could be thought of as x1 and x2 values, right? But now what we're trying to do, as you can see slowly over here in convolutional neural networks, is we're trying to actually recognize images. Okay, so there's a shift. There's a slight change in what we're trying to do. And so the question now becomes that how do we actually recognize images? And is this the best technique? So if you look at the deep neural network that we've used so far, is this the best technique that we can use? Can we present x1 and x2? These could be, what would these be? So now you have data in the form of not feature real numbers, but now you have features, you have the feature in terms of an image. An image, as you know, is generally two-dimensional. Okay, sometimes three-dimensional as well, but let's assume that for the rest of this course, you'll be working with two-dimensional images. Okay, and these two-dimensional images are represented in terms of pixels. Okay, and they're represented, if you look at any image on your computer, it's a series of zeros and ones. Okay, and it tells you, and if it has a depth, it could also have color. But let's say we're ignoring depth for the time being. So it could represent a 1 or a 0, and a 0 would mean a black, and a 1 would represent a white. Okay, so you could represent an image with that. So my question is that if you wanted to be able to, for example, look at these two images. So the top image is an image with 1, 1, 1 over here, and the rest are zeros, and the rest are zeros over here. So this is an image of a line. Okay, it's a slanting downward line. The other image 2 is an image of another line which is slanting upwards. Okay, and now my question to you is that if you wanted to be able to differentiate that, for a human being, it's very obvious, right? Because we can see images and we have a brain to help us with. But if you want to use a computer, how would you be able to differentiate between these two images? What technique can you employ to be able to, that can give me categorization between y1 and y2, y1 being the slanted down image and y2 being the slanted up image? Can we process these two images in such a way that it would give me, let's say, a high value, let's say 0.9 over here and 0.1 when I'm feeding it this image? And on the other hand, when I'm feeding it the other image, I want it to give me a point, let's say 2 over here and a 0.8 over here. In other words, y1 and y2 should reflect whether it is image number 1 slanting downwards, or is it image number 2 which is slanting upwards. Can you think of any technique that could be used? I mean, you understand matrix multiplication, for example, and so on. So, G, go ahead. Okay, sorry, go ahead. Okay, so that's one technique. What you could do is somehow trace a line and find out its slope. Very good thinking. I mean, you could do that. You could figure out, it's not going to be easy. So remember now what you're going to get is a series of pixels in 2 dimensions. All right. Your data could be coming in this way. Okay. So you actually will get 1 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 1. Okay. So this is the top row, this is the middle row, and this is the bottom row, right? So you're getting this series of pixel data one by one. And now you want to be able to figure out whether, as you're suggesting, that what is the slope. So it would be a bit tricky, but it can be done. So you look at this, you look at this, and you look at this, and you could find out the slope. But that's good thinking. Anything else? Yeah. You could sum them. Very good. So another thought is that you could sum this. So this is a 1, this is also a 1, and this is also 1. So what you're doing is you're doing a summation if it's xij. So what you're doing is you're summing over x. If this is, let's say, I and this is j, then basically summing over all the j values. Okay. So you could do things like that. I mentioned matrix multiplication. Can you use some kind of a matrix multiplication to be able to differentiate between those two? Maybe, maybe not. I haven't thought about it myself as yet. I just thought about it. Maybe there is a matrix that you could use, okay? And if you did a matrix multiplication of these two, it would give you a high value for y1 and a low value for y2, and vice versa. If you gave it this particular image, it would give you a high value for y1 and a low value, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So these are things that one can think of, right? Based on whatever you've studied so far. But yeah.
So we can design a matrix by using the order of these, right? So for example, if we have 1 1, if we have a 1 on this, so what we can do is put a positive or put a negative value on this.
So say that again. You're saying a negative value over here?
Yes, sir, and use the opposite for the second matrix.
Okay, very good, very good. And how would you go about it? Just develop that thought.
Sir, so we will use a matrix which is basically going to give a positive value but multiplied.
So plus 1, plus 1. What you're saying is that you have a big matrix, a 3 by 3 matrix. And what you're saying is use a negative value here and a plus 1 over here and a negative value here, something like that.
Yes.
Okay. So you seem to be heading in a certain direction. That thought has to be developed. But it's sort of going in the direction that I'm going to now talk about. And that is a concept of convolution. And more simply said, it's the concept of using filters. Okay. Has anybody come across use of filters in any course so far? If not, fine. So now let's introduce the concept of filters. Okay. So I'm going to introduce the concept of convolution and that of filters. And what we'll do is we'll start off very simply with a one-dimensional filter. Okay. So think of this as a one-dimensional. So this is the input, and now it's in one dimension. Okay, so we're getting an input which is 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. Sort of like an image, if you might think it's kind of an image like this. Okay, it's got a block of black and then whites at the end, or whites or blacks at the end and white in the middle. Okay, some kind of an image in the middle. And now what we want to do is we want to use different types of filters. So I'm going to use a filter over here, -1, 3, -1, sort of like what you were saying. And it's not matrix multiplication, it's simply dot product multiplication, simpler than that. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll place this filter right over here. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slowly slide this towards the end. Okay, and every time we slide it, we're going to calculate a new value. Okay, so the first time I'm going to place this filter, as you can see, -1, 3, -1 has been placed over here. Okay, and now we're going to do our dot product multiplication. We're going to multiply -1 with 0, 3 with 0, and -1 with 0. It so happens all of them are 0, so the output is going to be a 0 over here. Again, over here, I'm going to place this over here on top of this, and again it's going to be 0. I think I'm going to use okay, so I'm going to shift this. So initially it's going to be over here. Next I'm going to place it over here. As you can see, this particular one, Again, this is going to multiply -1, 3, and -1 with these three values. One of them is all zero, so the output again is going to be a 0 over here. So this is a 0. So this is a 0, and my pen is not working. This is a 0. This is going to be a 0 over here again. Now this is the interesting one, where I've taken the filter and I've placed it over. Where have I placed it? I've placed it over here. Okay. Now this filter is being placed over here, and which you can see is this one over here, the bottom, number 3. So what are we going to get? -1 multiplied by 0, 3 multiplied by 0, and -1 multiplied by 1. So you're going to get a 1 over here. Okay. That calculation is shown over here. Okay. Now help me out over here. What happens when you place this filter and you shift it over here, and now what are you going to get? So 3 minus 1 is going to be 2. Very good. Let's shift this filter over here, and let's see what do we get over here. It's going to be 1. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to check the answers in a minute. What is it going to be over here? 1. Okay, 1. So I've got the answers on the next sheet. 2, 1, 2. Very good. So you can see this is the basic concept of convolution. It's fairly straightforward. Okay, no rocket science to it. What is interesting is what different types of filters are able to accomplish. Okay, so this was a complicated filter. Let's forget that for a minute. That was just to demonstrate the concept. Now let's take a look at this filter, the first one. Let's pass this, and I'm only going to show you the results for this region because the rest of it comes out to be 0. Okay, so now I'm going to place the filter over here. I'm going to place, oops. So I'm going to place the filter over here, and I'm going to start looking at the result. So now I'm placing the F1 over here. There's a question. Sorry? There's one missing. Okay, so I got this wrong. Okay, you're right. This is probably somewhere over here. So you know what the mistake is. There's a mistake over there as well. Okay, we can correct that, but you get the idea. There's a problem over here. Okay, yeah. How are we using these filters? So that's what we're getting to. Okay, so now let's try to understand different types of filters and see what impact they have on the output. If you take a certain input, you apply a certain type of filter, and you should be able to design filters in a short while to get a certain type of output. Okay, so let's try to look at that. So let's take a look at this filter. Okay, this is a 0, 1, 0. It's a 3. It's a filter of size 3 in one dimension, and only has a number 1 in the middle. Okay, nothing else. So let's look at the output. What is the output over here? So I've put the filter over here. What do you get? 0. What do you get over here? Next one, you get a 1. So when you shift it over here, you get a 1, right? Because it's 1 multiplied by 1. Okay. Now you can see that since these 2 points are zeros, basically it's going to select the center value. It's going to simply select the center value of the input image. So you can just look at it and write it down. So it's going to look something like this, right? There are 4 ones over here. 1, 1, 1, 1. So it's going to give you a 1, 1, 1, and 1. So the input and the output, is there some resemblance? Right? The input was like this. Okay. And this is the output. Is there a resemblance? They're identical, right? So this can be thought of as the identity filter. So what we're doing is we're taking this filter 0, 1, 1, 0, and what we're doing is we're placing it and we're doing a dot multiplication and we're slowly sliding it. Okay, so I'll repeat it again. So if we place this filter over here, what are we going to get? 0 times 0 plus 1 times 0 plus 0 times 1. Okay, so you'll get a 0 over here. All right, so this is a 0. When you shift this by 1, okay, You shift it over here. Now we're going to get 0 times 0, 1 times 1, and 0 times 1. Okay, and so you get a 1 over here. So you can see that the identity filter is simply picking out the original input image and simply duplicating it. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next filter. So if somebody can help me figure out the output for this filter, it's a -1, 2, and -1. There's some creaking noise. Is that coming from any of the people who are, or is it myself? Sorry? It's my mic, huh? Okay. I don't know where that creaking sound is coming from. Sorry? Sorry? Okay. So is there a way to mute all? So I can go here and do participants. And then I can look at this. No, nobody seems to be. They're all muted. So the noise is somewhere inside the system. Inside job. Yeah, it's quite common actually. Okay, so so let's look at this. Let's try to put filter F2 and try to, so what we're doing is what is called convolution, and this is the symbol for convolution. Okay, so let's try to do this. Put filter 2 over here.
Greater than 1.
नहीं ये 0 क्यों था ये बंद
Now,
Greater
अच्छा greater than 1
all right, so let's put this filter F2 over here. What do we get? -1, very good. We're going to now shift it and put this filter over here. What do we get? 1. And then we're going to shift this filter over here, and what do we get? 0. Okay. Now, why do you think we're getting a 0?
The sum is equal.
Yes. So if you look at this, the sum of the filters is equal to 0. So the sum here is equal to 0. The sum here was equal to 1, and so on. So when the sum is a 0, it is doing something unique. Okay, so let's keep going, taking this forward. As you can tell, and since this is a symmetric image, so it's going to be symmetric. So it's going to be probably be 0 and a 1 and a -1. Okay, so you saw how I got that, simply symmetric. -1 here, -1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then zeros in the middle. Now suppose that we had, this thing was very long, right? So you had an image which looked something like this. Okay, what do you think the output would have looked like? So you see that at the edges, it has a -1 and 1 as soon as there's a change. And at the other edge, there's another reversal of that. And the middle is got zeros. So where the inputs are all 1s, all of this would become a 0. Okay. So essentially what this filter is doing, what do you think this filter is doing? Sorry? Yeah, go on. Yeah, but where is it putting the, see, in the center of the image? Okay, so if you have a very large image, which is, let's say, black in the center, okay? Let's say black is the content. And the edges are, you know, it becomes white. Okay, so here it's all black over here in this portion. And then the edges are all white. Okay, so what you expect is that in the center where the image is steady, it's not changing, the output is going to become what? It's going to become 0. In other words, the content will disappear. But where there is a change, where it goes from 0 to 1, where it goes from 0 to 1, because of the way the filter is designed, it's picking out the edge. Okay, if you think about it, it's what you can be called an edge detector. And we'll take a look at some examples of real output. Okay, so it seems to be like an edge detector. Now let's take a look at a slightly modified version of this. So this is -2, 4, -2. What is the sum over here? Again, a 0. So do you think it's going to be an edge detector or sort of similar to the identity? edge detector, right? So let's calculate the output. By now, you should hopefully be proficient at doing this without me sliding this, but let's do it. If you put if you calculate the first one, what is it going to be? So -2, and then the next one is going to be 2, and the next one is going to be 0, 0, and 2, and -2, right? So now what did you notice? The centers are the same, but the edges have been scaled up. They've been enhanced. Okay. So if you want to get an image in which you just want to look at the silhouette of the image, but you want to have a stronger silhouette or the stronger edges, then you can use a filter which is a stronger filter. You simply double this. Okay. Center is large and the edges have been doubled. Okay, another image. So look at this. Now, let's first of all see what is the sum over here. Filter number 4. Sum is 1. So now this is different. It's probably going to be different from an edge detector. Okay, let's see what it does now. So let's do this, the usual thing. What is the value over here? -1, right? And then, and the next place, what is it going to be? So 3 minus 1, 2. Okay, and then we keep going forward. It's going to be 1. And then you can see it's going to be symmetric, 1, 2, and -1. Okay. Now, can you think what's going on over here? So think about the identity matrix and think about the edge detector. So what is there a combination? Is there F4? Does F4 seem to be similar to either F1 or F2 or both? It's some of the two, right? So it's actually a combination of both the F1 filter and the F2 filter. Okay. So what do you think the output should now look like? What does the output now sort of resemble? So if you look at the output, it's now negative, and then it's a big positive. Okay, so negative, big positive, and then it's a 1. Okay, and then a positive over here again, and a negative. Okay, so the output is sort of looking like this. In the first case, the output was looking like a negative, then a positive, then a 0, then a negative. Then a positive and a negative, right? So you can see it's sort of a combination of those two, but the difference here is that in the center, it's 1s. Okay. So now can somebody tell me what do you think it's doing? The filter F4, what do you think it's actually accomplishing? Is the input sort of still there? Is the original input, is it still there in the middle portion? That seems to be there, right? What is it doing at the edges? It's sort of highlighting the edges. So now what it's done is it's taken the original image, it's reproduced it, but in addition, it's also enhanced the edges. Okay, so sometimes your image becomes blurred and you want to be able to see the edges very clearly. So what you could do is use a filter like this. Okay, which is a combination of the identity filter as well as the edge detector. Okay, now all of this, by the way, is in 1 dimension, and we'll look at 2 dimensions in a few minutes. Let's look at filter 5. Now, what do you think this is doing? Again, let's do this calculation. It's a little tricky over here.
What is the logic behind F4?
The logic behind F4. So again, what F4 is doing is not only reproducing the original image. So if you applied it to an image, it will not only show you the image, because okay, F1 does nothing. F2, would it show you the original image? Not really, because you would simply see the outline of the image. So if you have, if you've got something written down, you will only see the outline. Okay. F4, what it's doing is that not only can you see the original image, but the edges are enhanced. So it's 2 in 1. It's trying to do two things at the same time. Now let's take a look at F5 and let's see what is it doing. So F5, if you applied it over here, what do you get? 1 upon 3. What do you get over here? 2 upon 3. What do you get here? 1, and then 1, and 2/3, and 1/3. Okay, so now what do you think it's doing? And by the way, what is the sum over here? 1, right? So wherever you have a sum is equal to 1, you notice that the original image is retained. Okay, the center portion is a 1. Okay, something happens at the edges. Now, what do you think is happening at the edges? Going from 1/3, so it's going sort of like this, 2/3, and then a 1, and then sort of slowly going down. Okay, so the edges are, what's happening to the edges? The images the edges are sort of sloping before they get to 0. Okay, so before they get to 0, they're slowly going to the edges. So now here the edges were getting enhanced, right? What's happening to the edges over here? It's the reverse. Is the reverse, which is basically what you can say.
Excuse me, sir, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
I know there is some problem with the internet. Hopefully it should be better. I know that there was, for a few minutes, there was some message that the internet was not so good, but I hope that it's better now. Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Sir, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, hopefully it's better now. So what's happening now is that the edges are sort of getting blurred. Okay, you can see that instead of the edges getting enhanced, the edges are now getting blurred. So what you've done over here is this particular image is basically it's averaging out, and it's averaging out over 3 pixels. So it's sort of a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Here you were simply replicating the input, and here so you are sort of averaging out the output. Okay, so you can see that they have different properties. And so if I show this to you, so this is the identity matrix. This is the edge detector. This is sharpening the edge. Again, this is the same thing. And this is just sharpen. Okay, so it's got the original image, plus it's also sharpening the image. So you can see that it's sort of sharpening the image. Okay, and when you look at real images, you'll get a better idea. And here, this is blurring the image. Okay, so these are the same filters which I just showed you, and I've just got the output written down properly.
So it is blurring the edges, right?
Yes, it's not only blurring the edges. As you'll see that it's actually, if you look at a real image, this is a very simple version of the image. This is simple because it's only got zeros and ones. In a real image, you might say that it's got 0 to 255. You know, it's an 8. It's a pixel, but it can have one. Values between 0 to 255. So in that case, actually, it will average out the pixels over its neighbors as well. So the overall image will sort of look blurred. Okay, and let's look at some examples. So now here is an example, and it's actually from Wikipedia. You can go and take a look at it over there. And now this is in 2-dimensional. All right, so everything that you've learned in the past few minutes on 1D, just think of it in 2-dimensional now. Okay, so what would be a 2-dimensional filter if you want to get an identity filter? So remember, the 1-dimensional filter was looking like this. Okay, and the sum was equal to 1, right? The 1-dimensional filter was over here, and we said that the sum is 1, right? Sum is sum of this is 1, and the sum of the output, by the way, is the same as the sum of the input. Okay, you notice that when the sum over here is equal to 1, the sum of the output and the sum of the input are exactly the same. Okay, if you have the sum over here is equal to 0, the sum of the output is now also becomes 0. So the overall impact on the output is that there is no image if you just average it out. Okay, but there are images at the edges. So now think about this. The sum of the filter should be what now? It's 2-dimensional. Sorry? Should be 3. Yes and no, maybe. Sorry?
Image,
So, right. So basically in 2 dimensional, what we're doing is we're taking the original image, let's say this is a big image, okay? And now we're taking this filter, and what are we going to do? We're going to place it on our 3x3 portion of this original image, okay? We're going to take this filter and put it over here. We're going to do a dot matrix multiplication, okay? And now we want the output. So now if you want simply the output over here, then what should this filter look like? It's an identity matrix. You want it to reproduce the original input. So how should the identity look like? So should there be, maybe these zeros are kind of obvious. It's not clear what, there should be a 1 or zeros over here. So some people are saying zeros, okay? So how many people think it should be like this? Yeah? So this is what is going to be an identity matrix, okay? So this is correct. It's going to have a 1 at the center, and it's going to be surrounded by zeros. It's a 3x3 filter. So this is a 3x3 filter, and it's an identity filter. And why is it identity? Simply because it's just got a 1 in the center, okay? Just like this, it has a 1 in the center, and the edges are zeros. Here, what you've done is you've simply done this in 2 dimensions. You've got a 1 in the center, and you've got surrounded by zeros. Yeah. Yes. So you're right. So what will happen is when you put it at the edge, there's going to be some deformation at the edges. Okay, you're absolutely right. But let's look at the center of the image. Suppose that's a large image, then just forget about the edges for the time being. Just look at the center of the image, the most of the bulk of the image, then it will reproduce the image fairly accurately. Okay, but you're right that there will be some problem at the edges. So mostly it will be an identity matrix, this particular one. And you can think of it in 3 dimensions as well. So if you have a cuboid, then how many ones will there be? Again, there'll be a single 1 at the center of the cuboid, and everything around it will be in 3 dimensions, will be zeros. Okay. Now let's look at the edge detector. Now the edge detector, the sum was what? In the edge detector, the sum was 0 of the filter. So here the sum should be 0. So can you design an edge detector for me? So look at the previous one. It had a -1, 2, and a -1. So you could do the same thing over here. You could say -1, 2, and -1, but now it's in 2 dimensions. Okay. So we also wanted to detect edges at the top and bottom, not just the horizontal, the vertical edges, but we also wanted to detect the horizontal edges. Okay. So how can you suggest some numbers for the other 2 rows? Okay, so you could simply have -1, 2, and -1. That's rotation. But is the sum now 0?
Yes.
Some people have forgotten their arithmetic. It's -2, okay. So the sum is no longer 0 because you're summing over the entire filter. So now can you change something so that the sum is 0? 4 kar dein. Very good. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a 4. Now is the sum 0? Yes. Okay. So this looks like a good edge detector, and will not only detect edges this way, but also this way as well. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, say that again. Okay, so take another. That's exactly what the other one could be. So that's why I have 2A and 2B to predict your question, right? So how could you give me an answer for that? How could you do it at the edges? So you could have multiple types of filters, right? So you could put -1s over here, -1s, and a 4 over here. Perfectly fine. So you could have different types of edge detectors. And in fact, I'll show you in a minute that one of these are exactly what you're suggesting. Okay. But before that, let's look at sharpen edge. So how would you want to, if you want, this is an edge detector. If you wanted to sharpen it, how would you sharpen it? Scale up. So simply multiply it by 2. 8 -2 -2 -2 -2, right? Or you could scale this one up as well, or scale this one up. Same thing. Okay. Slightly different versions of the edge detector. Now, if you just simply wanted to sharpen, in other words, here's what you wanted to get. So these, notice that if you look at these closely, hopefully you can see these edges, right? I don't know if it's visible to you or not, but if you look at this, you can see that there are edges showing up. Can you see the edges like around here? Sorry? You can see them? You can see that there are some edges showing up over here, here, but they're slightly different. These two have slightly different results, and these in fact are the correct filters that I've used. Now here what you see is that this was a sharpened image. So now you can see that the images are really sharp. You can even see the fangs of this creature, whatever creature it is, okay? And you can see a lot more of the edges. I hope that is visible.
Sir, what is meant by an edge in this?
So edge is any change. Good question. Edge now, in the previous case, it was only zeros and ones. Now there's color as well. So the edge is any change in texture, okay? And the stronger the change, the stronger the edge, okay? So you can see that the eye is very prominent because the edge here is very strong, because it's not only going from slight shade of one color to the same slight shade of another color as in the rest of the face, but in the eye it's going from a black color to a very white color, okay? So you can see that the edges are now very sharpened over here, okay? The edges are not as sharp over here, but the edges are a lot sharper here. If you compare this over here to this, okay? The edges have become sharpened because you're using a much stronger filter. Now, the next one, where you simply want to sharpen the original image. Now, this is what I was talking about. So this is now this particular case, okay? This is simply taking the original image, it's reproducing the original image, okay? But it's also sharpening the edges. So if you notice, if you look at this versus this image, it seems to be the same. Now you can actually see the creature. But have you noticed that the edges are a little sharper, okay? You can see that the fangs over here are a little sharper, and so on. The edges over here are sharper. The background is now a different color, okay?
Is it derived from the same image?
All of this is derived from the same image. So the input is all the same, okay? So if you look at the input is the same, and the identity is duplicating the input, okay? But you're getting different outputs. Here you're only getting the edges, you're getting the sharpened edges, and here you're getting a sharpened version of the entire image. It's not just the edges, but also the entire image. So you can now tell me what the filter should be. So what should the sum be? Sum should be 1, right? Because you want to also duplicate the original image, right? And we also want to sharpen the edges. Okay, so what could we do? So, sorry? Okay, -1 and 5, very good. So all we're doing is simply taking the sum of these two images, okay? So if you sum up these two, you can see that instead of the 4 over here, we replace that with a 5, and the change on the output is completely different, all right? You can simply see that instead of just the edges being sharpened, now the original identity is also being reproduced. Now, what about the blurring? So this is the next one. So you can see that the edges are now blurred. So you can hardly see the teeth over here, which was somewhat visible, okay? This is not really visible anymore. The edges are also sort of less, it's sort of a blurred version. Okay, and if you imagine that sometimes what you want to do is you want to blur the image, right? So you might have seen that some of my images have been blurred. Okay, sometimes when I'm showing you a WhatsApp portion of my conversation, and that comes in the lecture, so I sort of go into the image, into the editor, and actually blur it. So I'm basically using a blurring filter. Okay. The system automatically does that for you. But let's look at what a blurring filter could be. So can you tell me what it could be? So if you look at the previous one, it was simply 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. What was the sum of this? 1. So you want the sum to be equal to 1. Why? Because you want the original image to be there, but you want it to be slightly blurred. So how would you design it? Sorry? 1/5. Okay, but if you want to, you could do that. So you could have 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 here, and multiply the whole thing by 1/5. That's one way to do it. And if you look at the actual, these are the actual inputs now. If you look at it, this is exactly what you had suggested, I think. No, this is right. I think I missed this. No, this is slightly different. If you notice that this is the sum is equal to 0, but it's a +1 here and -1 over here. How do you think this is different from what we had suggested? What do you think this is doing? And can you notice that difference over here? So it's a little hard to say, but it's sort of looking at things at an angle as well. So maybe in one particular plane, it's exacerbating the difference. But it's a little hard to, let's just forget about this. It's a little tricky. But over here, another filter could be 1/9. Okay, as long as the sum is equal to 1. So you can come up with a lot of different types of filters. And now you have basic idea. If you want the output to be the same, the sum has to be equal to 1. If you want the edges to be detected, so you have the sum is equal to 1, but you have some kind of numbers over here on the edges so that it actually exacerbates the edges. Okay? G. What are we trying to do in which one? 2A. So in 2A, we're doing the edge detection. All right. So this is exactly what you had suggested. -1, -1, -1, -1, and a 4 in the center. Okay. Sorry? वो भी कर सकते हैं. That would simply be less one. In fact, this is exactly what you're suggesting, right? 8 यहाँ पर है, and -1, -1, and exactly what you're suggesting. So this is going to simply, because now there's a +8 in the center, and there are more negatives around it, so it's going to sharpen the image. Okay, so if you double this to make it +16 and -2, it'll sharpen it even further. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we made a mistake. So the sum over here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's going to be 0. Okay. Yeah, so this is because you're excluding the center, so that's why it's 0. Okay, so now you have an idea of what 1D and 2D filters look like, and now you can even start figuring out. And this, by the way, if you look at this image over here, I mean this YouTube lecture, it's useful. It actually explains all of this. Okay, that's for the subsequent one. So here are some more filters. Here's a set of filters that are in 2 dimension, and tell me what they're trying to do. So here's the input image. Okay, and here's a filter which is ones over here. What is the sum now? First of all, sum is 0. All of these sums, are they all 0? Yes, all of the sums are equal to 0. All right. But notice that there's a difference between how they're positioned. So ones over here and -1s over here. In this case, the ones are vertical and the -1s over here. Now, if you look at this and this, filter 1 and filter 3, the filter, the -1s are at the bottom. Okay. This filter 1 and filter 3 are the same, except that the -1s have been moved to the bottom, and filter 2 and filter 4 are the same, except that -1s have been now shifted to the right side. Okay, so what do you think the impact is going to be? And this is sort of similar to what we looked at over here, is that it was the positions had some significance. So what do you think is going to be the impact on the output? Any guesses? Is it an identity filter? Is it a edge detector? Is it a sharpen filter? Which one of the 3 is it? Sorry?
Sir,
what is it?
Sir.
Is it an edge? So it's clearly it's an edge detector because the sum is 0. Okay. Yes, online somebody was saying something.
Sir, since it's only detecting the top part, it's kind of like detecting the filter 1 will detect the top of a line, horizontal line, and filter 2 will detect the left side of a vertical line, and filter 3 will detect the bottom of a horizontal line.
Okay, perfect. You've got it exactly right. If you look at the results, So if you look at, no, I don't have a separate, yeah. So let me just show this to you over here. So if you look at the results over here, what you can see that as you're suggesting, that's exactly what's going to show up. So this filter is going to detect the top portion. This is going to detect the left. This is going to detect right, and so on. Okay, let me see if I have that over here. Yeah, here's the output. So if you look at this output of this filter, you notice that this is detecting the black portion. No, sorry, the white portion is what you're detecting. Okay, so it's detecting the top edge over here. Okay, this is detecting the bottom edge over here. Okay, because filter 1 and filter 3 are symmetrically opposite. Okay, filter 2 and filter 4 are symmetrically opposite. This is detecting the left side of the left edges, and this is detecting the right edges. Okay, so what you can do is you can define different types of filters to have different properties. Okay, so now let's go on. So you have now some idea of how two-dimensional filters can be used for different purposes. Okay, now coming back to my original question, how can we differentiate between these two? Now that you know about filters, how would you design something which can actually give you, be able to detect Y1 versus Y2, Y1 being the going downwards, Y2 being upwards? So how would you do that? Now you have to, obviously the hint is you have to use filters. Okay, can you tell me what kind of filter you would use? Sorry? So, okay, so would you use an edge detector over here necessarily? We're not necessarily trying to, are we trying to detect edges here? Or are we trying to differentiate between different types of images? So we're not really detecting edges, okay, because that's not the objective is now to look for a certain pattern in the image. Okay, so we're trying to find a certain pattern. G. It only sharpens the diagonals. Okay, that we could do that. That remains to be seen. You can think about it and maybe work on it. And though it's good that you're giving suggestions, because that's not what I'm going to show you as a result. Okay, but I'm going to show you slightly something different. I'm not going to use an edge detector. I'm simply going to use a filter which is going to select a certain pattern in the image. Okay, and the pattern that I'm going to look at is I'm going to use the following filter. Okay, so look at this filter. This is filter 1, and if you notice that in this filter it's a 2x2 filter. This is 2x2. It's not 3x3. So the original image is 3x3, but I'm using a 2x2 filter. Okay, but if you notice in the filter, the ones are sort of in a diagonal way. Okay, so if you look now, let's do the convolution. Okay, let's do this is called convolution, or applying the filter is more or less the same thing. So as you can see, if you do the convolution over here, if you apply this filter and you place it over here on this box over here, what are you going to get? 1 times 1. Okay, 1 times 1 shown in the green arrow, then 0 times 0, then 0 times 0 again, and then 1 times 1. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to take, sorry, I missed this. I'm going to half it. Okay, I'm going to divide it by the total sum. So whatever the sum is, I want to get an output which has a unity output. Okay, so the output over here is going to be 0.5. Okay, so divide. So I'm sorry. Okay, I got that wrong. So I'm going to divide it by 4. Okay, why am I dividing it by 4? Because this is a 2x2 filter. Okay, so I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I'm going to divide it by the number of pixels in the filter. Okay, so that yeah. So yeah, the sum over here is 2. So we're not going to use the sum, but we're going to divide it by the number of, so it's doing something slightly different from what we were doing before. Okay. Yes, right. So we want the sum of all of this to be equal to 1. Okay. Or, well, we're looking for probabilistic values. Let's put it this way. Okay. So the 0 point, this is going to be 0.5. Let's calculate what this is going to be. So if you place this filter on this box, so let's do that. So now we've placed this filter over here. Okay. You can see that the sum is going to be 0 because 1 times 0 and 0. So there's only a 1 over here, and that's going to be multiplied by 0 over here. Okay. So the sum divided by 4 is going to come out to be a 0 over here. Okay. So far, so good. Yeah. So if the filter itself is of 3 by 3, we'll get different results. Okay. Yeah, so we could do that. You're right. But I'm just giving you examples. Okay. You could come up with a lot of different examples, but I'm just going to show you one set of examples and see what is the output of that, of applying those filters on the output. Okay. And see if we can, what we basically trying to do is the original target is to be able to select Y1 and Y2 values, which are able to select for essentially what we're trying to say is if this input image is given, then we want the Y1 value to be large and Y2 value to be small. And I want them to be probabilistic in nature so that Y1 plus Y2 is going to be equal to 1. Okay. So this should be the probability that it is a diagonal which is sloping downwards. Okay. So that's what we're trying to achieve. Okay. So let's look at the rest of it. So you can see that if I place this, if I do the filtering, if I do the convolution, I'm going to have 4 positions, right? So I can place the filter over here initially, then I'm going to place it over here. Next, I'm going to place the filter over here. And then finally, I'm going to place the filter over here. Okay. So you can see I'm going to get 4 values. And you can see that I'm going to get 0.5 along the diagonal. Right? When I place this filter over here, right, in this quadrant, then again it's going to result in a 0.5, just like it gave me a 0.5 when I placed the filter in the top left quadrant. Okay. So now you know.
Right now the filter is placed on the top right corner, right?
No, in this particular page, on this page, on page 23, I'm showing you the overall result. And specifically, I'm showing you for this value, how the filter is placed. So for this value, to calculate this, I'm moving the filter to this quadrant. Is that clear?
So sir, in the top right corner where the filter is placed right now on the page 23, you are not basically getting 0.5 because 1 multiplied by 0 on the top left of the filter would give you 0 again. So how is that?
So what we're doing is we're placing this filter over here, okay, and then we're doing a multiplication. 0 times 1 is going to give you 0. 0 times 0 is going to give you 0. 1 times 0 is going to give you 0, and 0 times 1 is going to give you 0. Okay, just like calculated over here. So this is how this particular 0 is going to be calculated. Is that clear?
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
I got it.
So this is how you're going to calculate the overall convolution when you apply this filter on this image. Okay. And what you notice is that this particular filter is giving you zeros on this outside of this diagonal, and it's giving you non-zero values along the diagonal. Okay. So it has this peculiar impact that it is sort of picking up the diagonal from the original image. Okay. So if you've understood that, let's try to use a different filter now. This was the original filter, was filter 1, and it was left diagonal. Now I'm going to apply a different filter on this. And now this is the same filter, but it's diagonal right. So now what do you think the result is going to be? So you think it's going to be like 0.5 over here, 0.5 here, and 0, 0 over here? Okay.
Sir, 0, 0 to rahega na?
So clearly this value is correct. Why? Because you're going to place this filter over here, and this is 1 times 0 and all zeros, so this is correct. If you place it over here, this is also correct, but these values are not necessarily 0.5. Why is that? Because you're saying 1 times 1 over here and 0 times 1. So you're going to get a 1 divided by 4, so you're going to get 0.25. Okay, so this is what you're going to get when you apply these two filters. So filter 1 is going to say that I'm getting a 0.5 along the diagonal, left diagonal, but this one is going to say, well, if I'm looking for a right diagonal in the original image, I'm going to find it, but it's not very strong. Okay, somehow it's found a right diagonal in there as well, because you can think of this as half of a right diagonal. Okay, so it's able, so the numbers over here are stronger, the numbers over here are weaker. Okay, now you can see that applying these two filters is sort of telling us whether there's a left diagonal or not in the image. Okay, now let's take this thought forward. Okay, and now what we want to get is a single number out of this. Okay, remember we want to get a single number, but what we're getting so far is a 2 by 2 matrix. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make it smaller. We're going to compress that 2 by 2 matrix, and this technique is called max pooling. Okay, this is also a fairly simple technique, pretty trivial, if you might say. All it does is take, let's say, a 2 by 2 filter. It's called a pooling filter. The previous one was a convolutional filter, and now this is called a pooling filter. So the pooling filter is sort of doing is picking out the maximum value. It's a max pooling. It's not an average pooling. It's a max pooling. So what you're going to do is take this filter, put it over here. Okay. And maybe it's not the right way to show this pooling filter, but just think of it as a 2 by 2 filter. You place it over here and you select the maximum value from this entire region. Okay. So what are we going to get the maximum value over here? 0.7. Now, when we play, and we're going to use a stride of 2. Stride of 2 means that instead of moving it only by 1, we're going to move it by 2. Okay. So we're going to move this original filter now over here. So what do we get? What's the maximum value over here? 0.2. Next, we're going to use another stride of 2. We're going to move it downwards. What's the maximum value here? 0.5. And finally, it's 0. Okay. So this is the output of maximum pooling, which basically what it's saying is that if you take this large image 4 by 4, and if you apply a 2 by 2 max pooling filter, you can make the size half, 1/3, 1/4. What do we say? Making the size. We're making the size instead of from 4 by 4, we're converting into 2 by 2. So we're basically reducing it by half. Okay. If you used a 3 by 3 filter and used a stride of 3, then we would reduce it by 1/3. Think about that. Okay. So if it's a 9 by 9 input image, then it will become 3 by 3. Okay. Just practice that out. So basically, this is what is called a max pooling filter. And this is very commonly used in CNN. Yeah. Say that again. Okay. So as I said, forget this. Okay. This is not the right way to think about it. It's basically a 2 by 2 filter, and it's picking out the maximum value in that grid. Okay. So just forget this portion for the time being. Okay. So now let's take a couple of more minutes and now take a look at, so this is the output that you get in max pooling. So now we've applied both, I've applied max pooling to this output. So what are we getting over here, the max pooling? I'm taking a 2 by 2 filter, and the 2 by 2 filter is simply going to place, it's going to take the output. I'm going to take a 2 by 2 filter over here. I'm going to place it on this. I'm going to place it over here, and I'm going to pick the maximum value from that area. So what is it going to be? Simply going to be 0.5. When I do the same thing over here, max pooling, I get 0.25. Very trivial. All right. So now if you think about it, what I've done is I've been able to, using this filter, the filter that is choosing this over here, and if I apply it, I get a 0.5 on Y1, okay? and I'm getting a 0.25 for this value. Okay, so we're using two different filters, and this filter is basically saying, is there a left diagonal in the image, and what is the probability of that happening? So it's saying there's a 50% chance that there's a left diagonal over here. This filter is saying, what is the probability that there's a right diagonal in this image? And it's saying there is a 25% chance of a right diagonal being present in the image. Okay, so this is how you can use different filters to be able to pick out different features from your image. Okay, so we'll stop over here, but now in the next lecture, what we'll try to do is try to look at some more examples so that you can see how a real convolutional neural network is able to pick out complete images from your images. For example, they can recognize a human face and so on.